sweet compassion when my soul's in need. I find compassion for friends and enemies. My own compassion is where my spirit breathes. Oh.
Live from Santa Barbara, welcome to Compassionate Connection. I am your hostess, Gigi Amor, and the purpose of our show is to share with you how to connect compassionately within ourselves and with others when we actually will gain the knowledge of the language of compassion, and we can transform the way we think and communicate and really have a more effective, let's say, rapport with others and be able to just enjoy life and ourselves much more. So that is our intent, to share with you all of these skills. And tonight I'm extra excited. We have a very special guest with us, Susan Allan. I'd like to just let you know a bit about Susan, but thank you, Susan, for being with us.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled about this show in particular. It'd be great.
Oh boy, we have a lot to get out there. This show is going to be about what Susan has created, the Heartspace solutions. It's something to really pay attention to. And now a bit about Susan and her background. Susan Allan is the creator of Heartspace Solutions, one of the coaching programs she began developing during her 40-year search for personal transformation. Susan is also a certified mediator and is certified in Herman brain dominance, used by 90% of the Fortune companies. Her 6-part conversation allows us to create peaceful and cooperative conversations with everyone under every situation. Susan has been seen on Fox News and on hundreds of television and radio shows, demonstrating the results we can create when we transform the way we think, listen, speak, and act, and focus on solutions instead of problems. And
Yay!
also, I know, is that awesome? And what's a blessing is that Susan, of course, offers a complimentary 1-hour private telephone session so that everyone can transform their business, their family, and their life. Also, this is exciting. Susan has launched 2 Facebook fan pages, and they have links to many of our shows. And one is called Susan Allan Heartspace, and the other is called Susan Allan Sales Form. So please check that out. Oh boy, Susan, I'm so excited. Now I'm going to share a little about what we're going to be examining tonight, and that is the widespread benefits of learning all the components of Heartspace solutions, and that range from inner peace to physical well-being, health, and financial stability. Oh my gosh, what a blessing. Well, Susan, oh boy, do I have a lot of information to have you share with us.
I'm excited. I'm ready.
I know.
Just
I
wind
love
me
it.
up and I go.
Okay, well, I guess we'll start with just examining what the Heartspace Solutions is about.
Okay. The way you think, the way you listen, the way you speak, and the way you act. That's what we see when we meet you, when we're around you. We don't hear the way you think, but it's in your body language. We certainly hear what you say, and we certainly observe and either enjoy or don't enjoy so much your actions. So all of the different components, all the different modules of Heartspace Solutions have to do with transforming, creating more peace, more joy, more connection with others, more success, more financial stability, more health, more everything that you want, and eliminating, deleting what you don't want so much. So whether it's the 6-part conversation, as Gigi said, which is one of the central skill sets, or Herman brain dominance, whether it's working with any of the referrals that I send people to, like Howard Wills or Dr. Chari in Santa Barbara, or O Vitamin Pro, which is for anybody, it's via telephone. All of the referrals, if someone's has a difficult legal situation, including divorce, then referrals for that. If they have a difficult financial situation, referrals for that. And once you use whole brain thinking, you're really thinking. Once you have the 6-part conversation under your belt, you're really communicating.
They are very worthwhile to pay attention to, Susan. I certainly know that it has helped me in my life. Thank you.
I've seen. Thank you.
There's results.
Yes, it works. Just watch Gigi.
Well, okay, I'm curious what you do consider the very most important of these trainings.
Yeah, the most important thing is still the 6-part conversation. I keep adding new modules all the time. You know, there's pro dating, and there's marriage mediation, and there's magical marriage, and there's the divorce forum and collaborative, and there's the sales forum. You know, so all these different modules exist. But the common denominator is you have to be able to calm yourself down before speaking. That's part 1 of the 6-part. And that comes from the nonviolent communication route, which I've become an expert in over many, many years. Then you have to be able to hear people and give them empathy. Again, that comes from the nonviolent communication route. You have to be able to speak in a way that clearly expresses what you feel and you need in a neutral and non-domineering and argumentative way. And then the next 3 parts of the 6-part, which we'll discuss in depth later, have to do with active listening, reflection and clarification, and finally solution. The real difference between nonviolent communication and what I teach is I just go further because I am very solution oriented. That's why it's called Heartspace Solutions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's not enough for me to just understand what you're feeling and needing and having you understand what I'm feeling and needing. It just isn't enough for me.
Exactly. I know you just follow through, Susan.
I want a solution, and I know that
and we
you
get
do
the
too,
results.
right?
Exactly.
We want to resolve this stuff.
She's good at this.
Thank you.
Now, why do you consider the Herman brain dominance to be an essential part of your trainings?
Thank you. This was huge for me. You know, Bill Sturley introduced me to Herman brain dominance years ago. I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that. And what was huge about that is, you know the old expression, you can't get blood from a stone? Is that the expression? You can't get blood from a stone? Yeah. So the truth is, you can't get blood from a stone. You understand that. But if somebody said, you know, that's a stone, but we've upholstered it to make it look like a footstool. You say, no, it's a footstool. Okay, no, I actually did the upholstery. It's really a stone, but I've, upholstered it to look like a footstool. Now, if you really understand what people are, you understand what they're able to do today, that doesn't mean that they're limited tomorrow. That doesn't mean that tomorrow we can't all commit ourselves to evolving and becoming more of this and less of that. We can. But if you are a vegetarian, don't go to a Brazilian restaurant that specializes in steak. It just doesn't make sense unless you're, trying to compromise with a group. It's what do you want? What are your needs? Can those people meet the needs? Can those people be the least likely way to get your needs met? And with Herman brain dominance, which is used by, as you said, 90% of the Fortune companies, it's taught at Wharton, it's just amazing. It's a snap. Because you understand the language that people speak. That's a huge blessing.
That is. That's quite a puzzle that you put together that is so clear.
Yes. Once you learn this, you've got it for the rest of your life.
Thank you, Susan. Very helpful. Now, I understand, of course, that you work with different aspects of training depending on your client's goals. Could you explain a little about that?
Yeah, sure. You know, in relationships, I often work with someone who calls me and says, I don't know if I want a divorce or if I want to reconcile with my partner. And you don't have to know that. In fact, you don't even want to make a decision about that until you have more skills. It's, you know, it's like somebody who has a medical problem. If you have a really lousy doctor, you want to actually go get a better doctor. You don't want to hire this lousy doctor who's had some disasters in the past and have this doctor perform any kind of surgery or anything on you, right? Because that's not going to be a solution. So the same thing, to use that, you know, kind of a metaphor, is true if you don't have the ability to communicate, think, listen, speak, and act in a peaceful, cooperative, and motivating way. You're going to think that you want a divorce anyway, and when you have more skills, then you'll be able to make a more intelligent decision.
I love that. What a transformation from being perhaps, let's say, blaming, shaming, a miserable type of thinking,
Yes.
to be able to transform that into a way that everybody can enjoy. Susan,
Yes,
that's
totally
really
different.
huge. Yeah, that's really good. It may feel good for some people to vent, but we don't recommend it really.
That's right. Introduce me to someone who enjoys hearing the venting. Find somebody and let me know, because I've never found anyone like that. I've found people who'll tolerate it, or they'll, you know, endure it for the greater good or some such story, but I've never heard anyone who really enjoys it. And I keep saying, you know, an opera is only enjoyable because of the music and the singing. The story of the killing and the murder and the jealousy and the rage and the rape and all this is not fun. I go, you know, I'm obsessed with the opera. I go because the music and the singing is so exquisite, but, you know, not the story and the drama.
No. Much more to focus on.
Yes, yes.
Well, okay, let's explore this. How do you, let's say, access which skills and tools and any referrals that may be important for someone?
Well, it's very obvious to me because I've really mastered whole brain thinking to the degree that I'm able to listen to you. And Fred, if you put that up on the screen for another minute, that would really be helpful, the whole brain map. Thank you. If you take a look at this, then I can hear if somebody is having trouble with the upper left brain analyzing and quantifying. Or I can hear if the person is having trouble with the yellow, really taking risks and speculating and imagining. Or I can tell if somebody is having trouble being sensitive to others and being supportive. And I can tell if somebody is having trouble taking preventative action, establishing procedures, and getting things done. So, you know, anyone that's in my life, I can tell you, I can give you scenarios and evidence, thank you, Fred, so that I can work with them in such a way that we develop and we build the part of the thinking that's not sufficiently activated. Now, in order to build someone's logical analysis brain, usually I've got to explain to them that first we have to quiet down their negative emotional brain. Get the negative emotions up into neutral emotions and up into happy, joyous, peaceful, stable emotions. And then and only then is there enough freedom, peace, time for them to really make headway with the logical analysis.
I love that. And really, I know personally I have that at home, and it can help me manually be
Yes.
more conscientious.
Yes.
So it's a process, but boy, practice can really help out.
And, you know, you're not going to have your brain develop on your own. You're not going to wake up in 10 years and find that miraculously you're really good at getting your taxes ready for an accountant, or that you're really good at calming your relationship, your partner, down when your partner is frightened or angry or sad. These are specific tools that we need, and I've developed certain components of them that really make a difference. And that's why I offered the 1-hour session, as you know, because I hate to see people suffering and feeling lost and confused.
Thank you, Susan. Well put, absolutely. And what a great thing for you to be doing, I must add. We
Yes,
really
I love
appreciate that. This girl
Thank
has
you.
great intentions and
Thank
gets
you.
things accomplished. Well, now I'd like to move forward with when a client has a relationship challenge, let's say, for example, a pending divorce. What a nightmare.
Yes.
How do you support them with your unique skills?
Well, now, divorce is really interesting because, you know, I have had my own horrendous experience that I survived, thank goodness, thank God. And so I have a lot of skills that I researched during a period of years when I wasn't getting the support I needed, I wasn't getting the facts I needed, and of course, I wasn't getting the results I needed. So there are a lot of things that I know about divorce that an attorney's not going to tell you because they haven't been on the other side of the desk. They'll tell you what they hope they can accomplish, but nobody has any proof in advance that they are going to accomplish it for you. I, on the other hand, can tell you exactly what you need to learn and teach it to you so that you get the very best outcome from your attorney that's humanly possible. Because there are scenarios that make it possible to have a peaceful, fiscally responsible, affordable divorce. And it isn't only about using the best attorney. It's how do you manage your attorney? How do you manage your accountant? How do you manage your spouse if you have children and you have to organize your children during this period? And very specific skills.
Yes, and a very stressful time for people, regardless of how helpful. Now, what is the difference between, let's say, a traditional divorce mediation in the your divorce form, collaborative meditation that you have developed?
Mediation.
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 Oh, I was thinking of calming
Mediation.
down.
So the
Thank you.
Yes, of course. The difference is, you know, often $25,000 right off the top, right? So the difference is financial. If you're in a traditional litigated divorce with 2 attorneys and a judge, you know, once you file your papers and once you hire an attorney, then your spouse has to do the same, and you have started the meter ticking. You have given your attorney permission to haul you into court and haul your spouse into court again and again and again and again, as much as the judge is in the mood for. Or you've given the permission to the judge to decide what's right for you and for your family, which is a terrible situation for anybody. You know, I mean, when people get, you know, aged and they can't make their own decisions, the worst thing they fear is someone else is going to make a decision for them. But here, in divorce, people are standing on line to let somebody make a decision for them. And the average cost of a litigated divorce in California, I hate to tell you, it's $30,000. The average the cost of the divorce forum collaborative model that I developed is about $5,000, often less. So if you want to hear more about that, you definitely want to call me or email me for a free session to hear more about it, because that's just a crazy situation people get themselves into because they don't know there's an alternative.
Oh, well, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. If they knew that there was an alternative, they wouldn't do it.
Well, okay, so how is this different from your, let's say, marital mediation? I know that's another of your specialty trainings.
Right. So, you know, if it becomes obvious that a couple really cares about each other, really loves each other, and at least one of you is willing to learn what you need to learn in order to create peace. And remember, with my systems, it only requires one partner, one family member, one employee, one. And so that's a huge difference. So in marital mediation, I just need one spouse or partner willing to learn the skills and tools that I teach and use them. Now, in therapy, in family therapy and couples therapy, you got to get both people together. And not only that, 99% of the therapists, you have to drag yourself to the office So not only are you spending 45 minutes with the therapist, but you're spending all the travel time, which is a nightmare for most people. With the work that I do with clients, 99% of it is over the telephone. And I just need you. I don't need him or her. So even if he or she is the reason you think you want a divorce, even if you think he or she is the trouble or the problem or the one to blame, the beauty of this is if you have more tools and skills, you can turn your relationship around and keep it turned around. And that's where real power lives. Because who wants to say, oh, if I have happiness, it's because he makes happiness for me? That's hell, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a personal inside job, and you can help people with that.
Absolutely. And it sticks. Once you learn these skills, you can always use them.
Well, I'll agree with that. I'd like to say I'll drink to that. Save that for later. Thank you, Susan. Now, I'm curious, what is the role of nonviolent communication in your various Heartspace solutions?
You know, there are so many different things that I learned from Marshall, as you did as well, because that's how you and I met. And one of the things that's really key is a deep understanding of what empathy is, and a deep understanding of what it is not. So all those years that you and I, Gigi, allowed people who were not really kind, not really compassionate, not really caring, not committed to what I call love, where our getting our needs met was not as important to them as getting their own needs met. So all those years that you and I were in those relationships, we were confused about empathy. You know, empathy doesn't mean I care so much about you that I throw myself to the wolves. Sorry. It just doesn't. It means that I care so much about you that I'm willing to care as much about you as I care about myself. Full stop. As soon as I find that my needs are not getting met, I have to bring it back to center. I have to give you empathy, motivate you, communicate with you in different ways so that, again, your needs and my needs are met. And some people, like with Gigi and I, it's like so easy. It's always been so easy. And that's why having friends and people in your life who are really empathetic makes a big difference.
Quite a gift.
It's just so easy. Yeah.
Yes. So if somebody gets off track, give her a call. I love that. Now, let's explore if there, let's say, is a health crisis. I'm curious, what are the solutions that you would recommend to people?
You know, it's so interesting. I just spent, as you know, I spent 6 days in a row with the extraordinary Howard Wills. I mean, just bliss, joy, you know. And I saw with my own eyes people's illnesses and symptoms disappearing, as I do every time I see him. So he comes to Southern California twice a year, and I drop everything and I run to spend as much time as I can twice a year. And so I've sat in, I don't know, 50 rooms where Howard is doing the miracle, magical work that he does, and people's symptoms and illnesses disappear. So that's one of the things. But I have a lot of clients who are very left-brained, very practical, very logical. They don't want to hear about this, which is fine. So I had a client who couldn't see. He had a driver every day. He couldn't see. He couldn't work in his business. He's a very wealthy guy who owns a very big real estate company, and he couldn't see. And he couldn't see because he was afraid to make a decision about which surgeon was going to do the cataract surgery. And so I supported him in making all the phone calls, having all the appointments, getting all the assessments, getting all the information about all these guys. And you know, in, I don't know, 3 weeks, I guess, he made the decision, hired the surgeon, had one eye done, it was perfect. Then I supported him a few months later and had the second surgery done, and it's perfect. And his whole life went back to normal. After the first surgery, he didn't have to have his assistant drive him around anymore. It was a completely different life.
Boy, talk about giving somebody vision.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
You're becoming more and more like Howard.
And all I had to do was support him in making his phone calls. I didn't have to wave my hands.
Now, okay, let's explore. Are there different financial solutions for different people?
Oh, absolutely. You know, if somebody is very upper left brained, very practical, very logical, very analytical, then they tend to have acquired a lot of money over time. Not always, and a lot of money can be various things to various people. But, you know, Seth Streeter at Mission Wealth Management is one of the most successful financial management companies, not only in Santa Barbara, but really anywhere in the country. And so I have a lot of clients who I've introduced Seth to. If it's someone who has a problem because they have to pay off their credit card debt, that's usually somebody who isn't left-brained enough, so they're not logical enough, they're not skilled in finance enough, and they're not taking enough preventative actions. So that's someone who needs a completely other skill, and I send them somewhere else to work on that. There's a guy named Frederick David who's very, very skilled at helping them turn that around, making deals that are affordable and that work. So, you know, different people, different solutions, even though the problem is all called financial.
I like that. They specialize and can help. That's
And there are
great.
10 more flavors that I'm just not mentioning in finance.
Okay. Lots of choices. Well, okay, let's explore. How do you suggest that someone actually begins the process? This is huge, of transforming their family.
Yeah. You know, the only way to transform your family is by first transforming yourself. There isn't any other way. If you're looking at that partner and you're saying, you're my problem, you know, then you have to just really face the fact that that's not accurate. That, yes, he triggers me. And when he triggers me, I do not get my needs met for peace, and I am reactive, and I'm going to speak in a way that he isn't going to enjoy, and it just gets worse and worse. It's like an avalanche or a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. So you just have to stop the whole chain reaction, and it stops with us. And that's where I teach a number of different skills. Usually, the 4 questions of inquiry, which is a version of Byron Katie's work. But the difference between the way that I use her questions and the way she uses her own questions is, again, I am all about solutions. You know, in 47 minutes or less, you can turn your whole life around by changing your story. And then you have those other 15 minutes with me in which you can figure out the action, and that's just in the free session. You know, the stories we've been telling are the rackets we've been running, to use a forum term, a landmark forum term. And if you're running a racket, you're not present, you're not conscious.
Well said. Thank you. Now, how about this? If the key challenge is, in fact, in business, how would you go about clarifying the missing skills that they need to learn? And, of course, is it possible to figure this out for ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, once you have a working knowledge of whole brain thinking, and again, Fred, if you would stick that up on the screen, that would be great. Thank you. You know if your company's in trouble because you don't focus on money, upper left brain, enough. Bringing in money, how to manage money, how to deal with all the money aspects. You know if your problem is because of an upper right brain, an inability to develop enough new products and look outside the box for solutions and be creative. You know if your problem is lower right brain, that your sales are falling and you're not reaching out to new people to make new sales and doing things with your sales department, hiring a new sales manager, hiring a national or international sales manager. And you also, once you understand this system, would be able to notice if your problem is lower left brain, taking preventative action, establishing procedures, getting things done, being realistic and, being reliable and organizing, etc. But you can hire people to do all of that if you are the president or the CEO. If you have a nonprofit, if your company's a nonprofit, as mine has become a nonprofit, you can find interns who can do those things, or volunteers, or board members, or whatever it may be.
That's very clear. I like that. And it is very realistic,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes, and you better be, right? If you run a company, you better be realistic.
Now, I can see we're going to take a moment or two and we're going to go into a clip with our favorite, one of our favorite guys, one out of many. Anyhow, this will be with Reverend Bernard Goodman and something about France. Please enjoy.
When I was channeling in this lady's house in Montecito, there was this redheaded lady there. And I told her that she was going to go to the French Riviera. And she said, no way, she has no money, she has no way of getting there. Well, 2 weeks later, she's calling us. She's living in a villa on the French Riviera owned by someone named Bernard, not me. And she's living there for free. And of course, 2 weeks later, she came back and she told us the whole story. And it was like a fairy tale, but it happened. When I was channeling in these other people's house in Oxnard, I told this guy that he was going to be in a Tour de France bicycle race. He said, no way, I don't even own a bike. You don't know what you're talking about. 6 weeks later, he calls us from France that he finished 6th in the Tour de France bicycle race. Even he couldn't believe it, but it happened. So, you know, when I tell you this stuff, what I've learned in all the years I've been doing this since the 70s, I have learned that the more outrageous the information is, the more true it is. Is there anybody in this room who can attest to that? Yeah. Okay. So I don't make the stuff up, you know, people. I don't know anything. I'm not even here, so. So we just want to let you know that, which is why you're here today. Being here today is not an accident. And of course, it's all the candy lady's fault, but that's okay. How do you know the candy lady? What, she gives you candy? What? How do you know Donna?
I met Donna years ago at a party.
At the parking?
At a party here
Party.
in Santa Barbara when I was studying here.
Oh, really? You think that was an accident? You think they didn't know this was coming today? All choreographed. You know, all of you who have mates didn't meet your mates by accident. Well, you and your horse I don't know about. But anyway, didn't meet your mates by accident. So we're going to go to Bob. Now we're going to tell you something about Bob, which just blows Bernard's mind. He retired as a what?
Battalion chief.
Battalion chief, not an Italian chief, but a battalion chief. Fire, which is pretty head guy, right? Well, we didn't mean you to fall. You okay? Okay. Dropped a watch. Anyway, now talk about being in service to humanity. This guy put his life on the line for how many years?
25.
25 years. Running into fires, running out of fires, all kinds of incredible stuff. I mean, to become a battalion chief, give me a break. It's like being God with wings and a fire extinguisher. Or a bottle of seltzer, whichever comes first. We need to honor you, Bob, for the many lives you've saved. You did save some lives in your career, yes? Don't be shy.
I did.
Yes, you did. And we know how many. But we're not telling because we're in public. But anyway, we want to honor you for all the lives you've saved and all the fires you helped put out and all the greatness you achieved in your career. And of course, the greatest achievement of all is marrying Artie, whether she knows it or not.
I'll drink.
And you certainly will. And there's some right there. And she's a woman not to be trifled with. So let me tell you, you to become her husband, chutzpah, kid, chutzpah. Guts. What, cannolis? Is that what it's called? Whatever it is. Cannolis? I don't know, whatever they're called. Cojones. Well, they were close.
It's your story.
Unless it's Greek. So for her to choose you took a lot of courage on her part because she knew the greatness that you are. And for you to choose her was the same thing because you knew the greatness in her. So you guys make a very great pair. Well, we're going to pour purple. As the silence happened, upon both of you. Purple is indigo energy of spirit. It is the crown chakra color. It is the highest form of color in the universe. And we're going to pour this on the both of you. As our way of anointing the both of you for the greatness that the both of you are, together and individually. Now, Artie is a powerhouse unto herself. You are a powerhouse unto yourself. Two powerhouses greatness make. So by us honoring the strength and courage and greatness that is in each of you, together and separately, we are thanking you for the role you have chosen to be in this lifetime. Not the bagel, but the role. So we are thanking you and honoring you for all you've done so far, and we're not going to tell you what comes next, because what comes next, you're not going to believe. But we believe. So we're not going to tell you, because that's the way we are, because we like to play with people, because you're playable, or pliable, or plausible. So, we are honoring the both of you for the greatness that you have inside of you that you have yet to give to this planet. And you will be giving that greatness to this planet in ways you cannot even imagine. The two of you are literally going to be working together in partnership on a number of projects that are to come. Some of them by the beach. They're just going to follow you home. They're just going to knock on your doorstep. They're just going to be there, seemingly out of nowhere. They're just going to show up when and where and how they're supposed to, according to the timetable, none of which you are in charge of. And the greatness that the both of you are singularly and together will produce results you will not believe. It's going to change people's lives forever. There isn't one person in this room who is not going to change people's lives forever. Not one person.
What a joy to have Bernard share with us over all of these years on the accuracy of what he has as a gift and ability to let us know how incredible all of us are, and those that attend these events, and I certainly have been blessed to, how we can just really take it in and really be supportive and encouraged and lifted to go forth and to be of service and to be all that we want to be. So I just have great respect, appreciation, admiration. I love Bernard, and I really am pleased that he is who he is. So at any rate, I'd just like to give that appreciation out there. And for those that haven't seen him yet, it is very worthwhile to check him out, and we'll keep you posted. We get a hold of him, we'll let you know where he is. All right, well, I'd like to get back with all the knowledge and information that Susan has for us. And so we're going to explore this. Some people find some skills, let's say, to be so easy, and there are others that it's not so easy to learn, and I wonder why this is.
You know, it has a lot to do with the way that our brain functions. So, for example, a couple of years ago, I called Mary at Ovitamin Pro and I said, I can't find this wonderful product I use for my brain. It's got this wonderful vitamin in it, which I think is PABA, and I can't find it in the store anymore. And she said, well, you know, we'll have to get you something different. But that's a very important vitamin. It makes a huge difference in creating neural pathways. Because I find when I take that every day, or even every other day if I forget, it's much easier for me to remember different things that I haven't thought of in years, different pronouns. Because as you get older, people tend to have trouble remembering names.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just started a book. I just started a very interesting mystery that takes place in Thailand, and I know exactly who the author is gearing this on, a very famous guy who was supposed to be a spy in the 50s. His name was Jim Thompson, and my mother knew him, and I couldn't think of this guy's last name. So it was funny. I realized I hadn't taken that vitamin yesterday. Again and again. So depending on where your brain needs a little bit of help, because I am not the big data, numbers, dollars person. But I don't need any help to remember a face of somebody that I've seen 30 or 40 years before and haven't seen in 30 or 40 years. Because if I knew you, I will recognize you probably to my dying day. And I don't need any help remembering what I wore to major events. You're probably like that too.
Yes.
Probably can remember what you wore to your junior prom. Of course you can, right? Yeah, because that's the part of our brain, the lower right brain, that's very active. And you and I are always getting things done. We don't show up, unprepared, because the lower left part of our brain is very organized, and we take preventative action pretty well, and we're also having the visionary thing. So once you know who you are today, because of your brain, because of your genetics, and who you aren't yet today, then you can put your attention into developing that part of the brain that needs a little help. And there are many ways to do it, and that's, of course, what I talk about with clients.
Thank you, Susan. Very accurate, very, just so helpful, insightful. Well, okay, so this is a little trick question. Is there an easier and faster way to master Heartspace system?
Yeah, it's not that complicated in the sense that people who do really want to master this. Let's say you've heard enough, you've heard me for 8 years on Gigi's show, you get it, you want this, and so clients work with me either 1 day a week for an hour or 2 days a week for an hour, period, that's it. And they send me emails and receive emails from me in between. The reason that it's a pretty simple standard educational system is that your brain needs repetition, but at the same time, your brain needs rest. And what I found in all these years that I've worked with thousands and thousands of people on a one-on-one level is that speaking to somebody 3 times a week is only useful if there's a huge emergency and they really don't know what to do and they really do need information as they get closer to something. But for the rest of us who are just learning skills to improve our lives, you don't have to spend 18 hours a day on this. There's no benefit.
That's nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this? When you're teaching your Peace Form module, what are the key trainings?
Well, for the Peace Form, it's all about inner peace. It's all about feeling good. It's all about being happy. So that means that you must master the 6-part conversation, not necessarily for a solution, but you've got to be able to get self-empathy. And you've got to be able to master the 4 questions of inquiry so that you can bring yourself back to peace in a few minutes, 4.5-minute rule, that's what I realized. You've got to be able to calm down and be present in 4.5 minutes or less. And if you find that you're telling the same miserable story day after day, and it's getting you triggered day after day, Bob shouldn't do that, or Bob always does that, or I'll never be able to do that, or any of those stories, then for sure you've got to master the ability to turn the story around. As soon as Bob learns something new, Bob will be able to do something different, for example.
Absolutely. I love that. Boy, the stories we can tell. Okay, well, let's think about this. I know that in your marriage form toolkit, well, please explain to us what the most important part of Heartspace is.
most people in relationships that are not great really believe that they're in a relationship, which I don't always believe is true. They believe that they at least used to love each other, which I don't always believe is true. They believe that they can love one another in the future, which I don't always believe is true. If you're not capable of unconditional love, there's no reason to believe that a different partner is going to make it happen. It's all about you, not about us. If you are capable of unconditional love, then usually the trick for you is picking a partner who actually is also able to give unconditional love. And there are very few people on the planet right now who have that skill and that ability. That's why I've had 16 marriage proposals. And I'm sure that if you hadn't been married all those years, you would have had 600, you know? Because there are not that many people around who are capable of deeply caring what happens to somebody else. And that's the key. So that's part of what I teach.
I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of it. Thank you. Well, okay, how does this differ from, let's say, the divorce form program?
Well, you know, in a sense, it's the difference between night and day. Because most people get a divorce because they aren't able to motivate and inspire each other. But then they aren't able to motivate and inspire each other in the divorce. So now they have to hire a mediator. If they're not able to motivate and inspire each other enough in a mediation, now they hire attorneys and they litigate. And if they're not able to motivate and inspire each other enough, then they have problems with child custody, if that's an issue. And so basically, they're in the same situation they're in. Sometimes it costs $1 million for them. And all they really had to do was spend about 12 or maybe 24 hours, once in a while 36 or 48 hours, learning what I teach so that they can create peace and understanding and cooperation and co-create a solution. And doesn't that sound a lot better than going through the torture of divorce? Now, even if you say to me, but you know, he did this or she did this or I don't want to stay together, that's fine. I don't get to vote. It's not my choice. But if you're going to separate and divorce, you would love to do it peacefully, wouldn't you? So that's what these skills are about.
So even if they make that choice, you can keep things more peaceful and
Totally.
healthier for everyone.
Totally peaceful, because what the children go through, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder for children, and the husbands or the wives, post-traumatic stress disorder in us during a difficult divorce, it isn't worth it.
Good idea. And plus, who knows, ultimately they can save themselves and
All that money!
money,
You-
their loved
you have
ones.
peace, and you have your, you know, your family money intact, and your children love both of you instead of only one of you and hating the other. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's explore this. Tell us about your pro dating training.
Well, it's interesting. You know, sometimes I meet someone or someone hears about me, and what they really want is they want to have a great relationship, a fabulous relationship. I just completed working with a woman in another state, and she'd been married 3 times. She'd never had a good relationship. She had just broken up with her most recent boyfriend, and it was a mess. And she just didn't understand, A, the kind of man she was looking for. She didn't believe she could find the kind of man she was looking for. She didn't believe that if she found him, she could motivate him to be with her. And all these stories she told herself that were not true. And in a period of 6 sessions, we got rid of all the people she thought she should be dating that clearly were not what she was looking for. And we found her a great guy. And so now she's getting to know him, and we're going to start working again in about another month to kick it up to the next level.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yes, it's so much fun, too, for everybody.
Oh, yeah,
No
that's
torture,
the fun
no
part.
suffering. Yes.
Oh my. Okay, so if you want to get hooked up,
And have it be a really successful relationship.
that's right.
Yeah, really what you're looking for.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay, now I know that the sales form is a parallel route for those of us who own a business. Is this correct?
Yeah, because, you know, when I started all of this, it was with relationships. And then people were saying to me, well, you know, as a matter of fact, now that I turned everything around at home, I've got this horrible employee. Well, you know, it's funny. First they told me they had a horrible husband or a horrible wife. Now it's a horrible employee. No, it's not. It's that when you bring the proper skills to bear and when you bring really, you know, whole brain thinking, then this horrible, so-called horrible person, suddenly you see this as a person who is using tragic strategies to meet his or her needs, to quote Marshall Rosenberg. And then you turn it around and you have a person who either you want to keep in your company or you don't want to keep in your company, but you do it in a way that's peaceful and practical and successful and affordable without sexual harassment lawsuits or any of that nonsense.
Nice. We can use more of that too.
Yeah, and if you look at the Sales Forum fan page on Facebook, you'll see tons of information about this. Just as you know, will, if they look at the Heartspace fan page on Facebook, we have so much information for people, and obviously it's all free. It's on Facebook. And so many of the shows that you've invited me to do are up there too.
Oh, what a great opportunity.
It's very cool. It's very cool. People are loving it.
Absolutely. I review them. They're so informative.
Good.
Now, I do understand that with your clients, you can switch from, let's say, the personal to their professional goals. And, of course, you support them in applying these skills in all areas simultaneously. So
Yeah, sure.
what's the trick to doing that?
Well, you know, you ask me a bunch of questions. So I give you the answer to different questions, right? You know, I mean, obviously you have to be flexible. So if somebody calls me and they say they want me to work with them on turning their family around, but then I speak to them a week later and now they're having problems at work, well, I just use that as the jumping off point to continue to work on those skills. So somebody needs self-empathy. They need empathy for others. They need to self-express in a peaceful and motivating way. They need to do active listening, and they need to create solutions from the minute they wake up and open their eyes till the minute they go to sleep at night, right? And somebody needs to be able to have their whole brain turned on, whether they have to deal with outside-the-box solutions to problems they may have, or finding new people to include in their life, or getting along with the people already there, or analyzing situations, or researching the potential solutions, or just making to-do lists and checking things off before you go to sleep and keeping yourself on target. Those are the kinds of things that you have to do everywhere in your life. You know, as an employee, as a husband or wife, as a mom or a dad, as a son or a daughter, as a friend, every place. And that's what we just saw in the tragedy in Boston. We just saw how quickly that was solved. Because it was solved by outside-the-box thinking. Everybody please send your, videos. It was solved by logical analysis of the data, of course. It was solved by connecting to every possible person. And it was solved by step-by-step action until they got their men.
That full chart.
Yes, absolutely.
Were you in on that one?
Just
this
praying.
time,
I
but
was just praying.
Oh. Well, Susan, what a joy to have you and all of your informative information that can just make such a difference in anyone and everyone's life. It's really thrilling. I know it has in mine, and I know that everyone else is thrilled to see these skills and tools are available to explore, and that you would support them and allow each of them to fully transform and enjoy their life.
Yes.
And I'm just once again so thankful that you have been a guest on our show for 8 years now. And of course, you have so much to offer. More things come up all the time. We could do a show every day of the week.
I
it
have to
seems.
invent new things just because I have to keep you interested.
Oh, I am.
And you guys interested as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the excitement, enthusiasm, it's thrilling to learn and for me to hopefully live what you have shared.
You do. You do, you do. She does,
Thank you.
really, honestly. All the time.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Well, now we're going to just let you know that, of course, we're live here at the channels every Tuesday night from 8 till 9. And throughout the week, we re-air Thursdays at 3 in the afternoon, Saturdays at 8 a.m., possibly Fridays at 7 a.m. Other surprising times filled in. And the Compassionate Connection show is now going strong in its 8th year. And we certainly enjoy and find that it is really a gift for us to be able to share what we have learned in our lives to contribute to other people's lives. So thank you for all the thank yous and appreciation we get on that level. And I'd just like to say, any more questions, comments, or concerns? It's always exciting to hear what's going on in your minds. And you can contact us, 805-698-8233, or an email, ggm@cox.net. They're like opening up a present for me. We're also going to remind you that we do have a website where you can go to compassionateconnection.tv and you can check out the special gifts and the gifts of knowledge they have to share. Now I'd like to reflect on our special guest, Susan Allan's column here in our local Ask the Love and Relationship Coach, Santa Barbara Family Life magazine, which of course is also available online, sbfamilylife.com. And it's always fun and sensible to read those for me. It's like, okay, I think I get it. Let me reread it. Yeah, I got it. Okay, yes, take note to self. And of course, susanallen.org, you want to get through, and that complimentary telephone call, what a good amount of time that would be for you. That would be 805-695-8405. So now we'd like to reflect on our international healer, Howard Wells, who is back in Los Angeles until May the 5th. So you can visit his website. That would be howardwells.com, and I would suggest register for some of his amazing events. Now, next week on our show, we're going to have Susan back. We're on a roll. We're going to get a lot of information
Part 2.
out. Thank you, exactly. And I would just like to say thank you so much to our one of our show contributioners, and that would be Dr. Dreblow. And here in our studio, oh, what a joy. We've got Matt, Mark, JP, Oscar, so many people to be in gratitude of. And right here, a thank you. Our director, Fred Winter, couldn't do the show without, and Tyler Get on audio support. And I would just like to invite all of you. We are going to the French table this evening. We'd love to see you there. And I'd like to say thank you to I Love Lucy, Lucia Salon. And have a compassionate week. Good night. Yay.